Everett Bradford stepped out of a sleek black sedan, his polished shoes touching the smooth curb. A gust of cool night air brushed his face, heightening that queasy feeling in his stomach. In the distance, the shimmering sign of Silhouette cast a golden glow over passing cars. From outside, the place looked every bit as exclusive as the name suggested: soft lights, velvet curtains, and doormen in dark suits. He straightened his tie and glanced at his watch. 9:12 p.m. His wife, Cassandra, had insisted on a late reservation for their 23rd wedding anniversary. Instead of feeling excited, Everett felt a strange ache brewing in his chest. The restaurant's foyer opened into a grand hall with a marble floor gleaming under carefully placed spotlights. Servers wearing crisp white shirts and black aprons hurried by, balancing trays of wine and hors d'oeuvres. A live pianist near the far wall filled the air with delicate notes that Everett would normally find comforting tonight. They only amplified the tension clawing at his nerves. He spotted Cassandra at the bar. Her long auburn hair cascaded over the back of a fitted champagne-colored dress. Several onlookers, men and women alike, turned their heads, mesmerized by her appearance. She wore confidence like a second skin. But Everett noticed something off, a restlessness in her eyes, the way she tapped her manicured nails against the countertop as though her mind was miles away. "Sorry I'm late," he said quietly, slipping onto the bar stool next to her. Cassandra pivoted, a sudden bright smile lighting up her face. "Everett, darling, you made it." She lifted her glass of red wine and clinked it lightly against his empty tumbler, though the bartender hadn't poured his drink yet. "We can't have an anniversary celebration without you." He tried to smile back, but his expression faltered when her phone buzzed on the counter. Cassandra tensed, subtle but noticeable. It took only a second for Everett's gaze to flick toward the screen. The name Amari flashed before she hastily tipped the device to hide it from view. "Work call?" he asked, feigning casual interest. Cassandra let out a small laugh, airy and unconvincing. "You know me. Always something going on. Let's not worry about that. Tonight is supposed to be special." They were escorted to a table in a secluded alcove, softly lit by a single pendant lamp. The hum of conversations and clinking silverware swirled around them. Cassandra set her phone face down, though Everett couldn't shake the thought of that name. Amari. Never heard it before. Not a co-worker, not a friend, as far as he knew. A waiter arrived with an aged Cabernet, pouring the deep crimson liquid into their glasses. Cassandra sipped hers eagerly, her eyes darting about the restaurant. The tension in the air felt almost visible. "This place is stunning," she remarked, swirling the wine gently. "And the perfect backdrop for new experiences." Everett tilted his head. "New experiences? Like what?" She leaned in, voice low and slightly trembling with excitement. "Something I've been thinking about a lot lately. Her phone buzzed a second time. She glanced at it, biting her lip, then pressed it to silent. "Cass, can we talk about that call?" he asked, his heart pounding. He didn't want to seem paranoid, but he needed answers. She exhaled, exasperation shining behind her eyes. "It's just someone I've been meeting for business. Don't get worked up." Then a smirk curved across her lips. "Let's order our food first, shall we?" They went through the motions of selecting appetizers and entrees, but Everett's appetite waned. Cassandra, on the other hand, drank more wine, her cheeks flushing with a mix of alcohol and anticipation. Halfway through the meal, her phone lit up yet again. She snatched it off the table. This time, Everett heard a brief murmur. "I'm here. Are you ready?" When she set the phone down, her eyes danced with mischief. She leaned closer across the table, ignoring the half-eaten salmon on her plate. "Everett," she said quietly, "I want you to keep an open mind tonight. We've been together so long, don't you ever wonder if there's more out there to experience?" He felt his pulse spike. This is our anniversary, he thought bitterly. Why would she be talking like this now? Cass, we can always spice things up in our own way. But, she pressed a fingertip to his lips. Shh, don't worry. Tonight might surprise you. Her gaze was sultry, almost predatory. Moments later, Cassandra stood. I'm stepping away for a minute. Her voice carried an inexplicable eagerness. Why don't you settle the check? I'll be right back. Before Everett could protest, she turned on her heel and strode toward the lobby, phone clutched in her hand. For a second he thought of following, demanding answers. But something, maybe fear, maybe stunned resignation, kept him glued to his seat. He signaled the waiter for the bill. A swirl of dread tugged at his gut. What in the world was Cassandra planning? As he signed the receipt, he spotted her across the restaurant, exchanging a look with a tall, lean figure wearing an impeccably tailored suit. The man's eyes flicked in Everett's direction, a smirk curling his lips before Cassandra led him away. Everett swallowed hard. Is this happening right now? He wondered. On our anniversary? He felt the sting of betrayal, confusion, and a sliver of cold rage. When Cassandra returned, her steps were measured, her expression daring. She leaned down to whisper in Everett's ear, her breath scented with wine. "Don't be shocked by what's coming," she murmured, her voice laced with excitement. "We'll talk more once we're alone." The overhead lights seemed to fade, leaving Everett in a tunnel of swirling thoughts. Every sense tingled with alarm. He looked into her eyes, those same eyes he'd woken up next to for over 2 decades, and felt them burning with a secret he didn't fully grasp. Yet. Everett's sleep the previous night had been short and restless. He'd come home well past midnight. Cassandra had been calm, almost too calm, and simply muttered something about having an early meeting. She then retreated into the guest room without so much as a good night. Now, in the wide morning light spilling across the kitchen granite, Everett stood in his bathrobe, sipping coffee that had turned lukewarm in his hands. The house felt quiet, eerily so like a painting missing its final touches. He found himself replaying scenes from dinner, her cryptic phone calls, that stranger in the elegant suit, the sly smile she gave when she said, "Don't be shocked." Every detail only fed his growing unease. A vibrating hum startled him. His phone lay on the counter, screen displaying a text. "Harvey Coleman, urgent call me." Harvey Coleman wasn't just his lawyer, he was a close friend. They'd gone to college together, celebrated each other's milestones, and weathered each other's losses. For Harvey to send an urgent text before 9 a.m. was far from normal. Everett quickly tapped the call button. "Harvey, what's going on?" "Look, I don't want to pry into your private life," Harvey said in a subdued voice, "but Cassandra showed up at my office yesterday. She mentioned something about reevaluating the prenup you two have had for years. Any idea why?" Everett's grip on his mug tightened. Not exactly, though last night she was definitely acting strange. He told Harvey about the suspicious phone calls and the tension at dinner, but left out the explicit details. "All right," Harvey said. "I won't jump to conclusions. But if she's hinting at changes to your marital arrangement, it's best you brace yourself. Maybe do a quick check on joint accounts, credit cards, make sure everything's as it should be." Everett pressed 2 fingers to his temple. "You think she's up to something more? Dramatic?" "It can't hurt to be cautious, Everett. Trust me." Ending the call, Everett took a steadying breath. He didn't want to believe that Cassandra might be planning anything rash. She was his wife, and they had decades of history. But the disquiet he felt was impossible to ignore. As he rummaged through the kitchen drawers, searching for a pen, he heard footsteps. Cassandra stepped into view, dressed in sleek black leggings and a casual top. She looked fresh-faced, her hair braided to the side. "Morning," she greeted, her tone neutral. "Morning," he replied. "I was just on the phone with Harvey." He saw her flinch ever so slightly at the mention of the lawyer's name. "Oh?" She crossed her arms over her chest. "And why is that?" Everett studied her expression. "He said you visited him. Something about the prenup." Cassandra let out a small laugh. "Can't I have a conversation with our lawyer without you getting suspicious? Besides, we've had that prenup for ages. Life changes, you know." He set his mug down. "What exactly does that mean?" "It means," she said, walking closer, "I want to keep my options open. Our lives aren't the same as they were in our 20s, Everett. Or do you disagree?" He shook his head slowly, frustration simmering beneath his skin. "You're not telling me the whole story." She shrugged, turning away. "I have things on my mind, all right? Can't we just keep this civil? No point in fighting over what might never happen." Everett watched her carefully, noticing how she avoided eye contact. A swirl of conflicting emotions, a sense of losing grip on something precious took hold. A moment of silence passed before Cassandra spoke again. "I'm heading out to meet Marilyn for brunch. We'll talk later if you want." Marilyn Vaughn, Everett muttered as she walked away. He knew Cassandra and Marilyn had been friends for years, but he'd never particularly liked her. Marilyn had a knack for stirring drama. After hearing from Harvey, he couldn't help but suspect that Marilyn was fueling Cassandra's new mindset. Once Cassandra was gone, Everett retreated to his home office, opening his laptop. He pulled up their financial records and started scanning for anomalies, large withdrawals, unusual credit card charges. Part of him felt guilty, as though he was betraying Cassandra's trust by snooping. But another part, the pragmatic side that wanted to protect everything he'd built, insisted he had every right. As hours slipped by, he discovered no major red flags, but the feeling of dread refused to fade. He recalled the last night's dinner again, the flicker of the phone screen, the name Amari. He decided it might be wise to contact a private security firm for advice on safeguarding assets and getting clarity. Before the day was out, he made the call. If Cassandra was determined to keep her secrets, Everett would find a way to uncover them. Everett stood by the large bay window, gazing at the neatly trimmed hedges outside. Dusk was falling, painting the sky with streaks of purple and orange. He'd spent most of the day in meetings for Bradford Industries, trying to bury his worries in spreadsheets and quarterly reports. It hadn't worked. Suddenly, the sound of the front door opening snapped him to attention. Cassandra entered, looking oddly energized. She carried a small shopping bag with the logo of an upscale boutique. "You've been busy," Everett remarked, forcing calm into his voice. She smiled almost cheerfully. "I had lunch with Marilyn and then did some shopping. Figured I could use a new look." Her eyes traveled across the living room, finally settling on him. "What about you? Work stuff?" "Yeah," he replied. "And thinking about us." Cassandra rolled her eyes slightly but approached. "If this is about the prenup conversation..." "It's about more than that," he cut in. "Last night was strange. You told me we'd do something I shouldn't be shocked by. Then you disappeared into the lobby with someone." Her lips twitched, as though amused. "You noticed?" "Of course I noticed," Everett said. "Who was he? Are we—" He halted, swallowing his words, unsure how to frame the question. Cassandra set the shopping bag down and faced him, her expression a mixture of daring and impatience. "I've been thinking," she began, "that our marriage needs a jolt of excitement. Something new. Something out of the ordinary." Everett's heart thumped. "Cass, you can't be serious. Do you realize how insane that sounds?" She raised an eyebrow. "Is it insane to want more from life than the same routine? Look at us, Everett. We've grown stale, living like roommates instead of husband and wife." He took a step closer, dropping his voice. "I understand wanting to revive the spark, but there are other ways. We can travel, take up new hobbies, get counseling, anything but this." Cassandra sighed dramatically. "I already told Marilyn about my ideas. She thinks I'm being bold, that it'll make us stronger in the end. She and her second husband tried something similar. Marilyn?" Everett scoffed. "You're seriously taking marital advice from someone with multiple divorces?" She glared. "Don't you dare judge. At least she lives fully. I'm tired of your condescension, acting like you know it all." Emotions clashed within Everett: anger, disbelief, a lingering sense of heartbreak. "So, you're telling me you want to see other people? While we're still married?" "That's one way to put it," Cassandra said, crossing her arms. "But it's more complicated. I want you involved. I want you to see it, to be part of it in some way." Everett's throat tightened. "This is beyond crazy. We're not talking about some harmless fling. Do you realize the damage this could cause?" She shrugged lightly, as if the prospect of upending their marriage was no big deal. "Sometimes you need to break things down to build them stronger. Ever think of that?" A trembling wave of shock ran through him. The wife he thought he knew was unrecognizable. "Cassandra, no. Just no. This is not happening." Silence thickened between them, only punctuated by the hum of the air conditioner. Finally, Cassandra exhaled, her demeanor calming, but her resolve unbroken. "I'll give you time to think. But you should know if you're not on board, I might do it without you." Everett's stomach churned. "You're threatening me?" "I'm just being honest," she replied, her voice low and disturbingly steady. "In a couple of days, I'll have more details. Maybe then you'll see I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to live." At that, she picked up her shopping bag and walked off, leaving Everett in stunned silence. Thoughts spiraled through his mind. Could she be serious? Is she truly ready to tear our marriage apart just to chase some twisted version of freedom? His phone buzzed in his pocket, an incoming text from Oliver, their son, asking if he could come home next weekend. Everett read the words but felt too numb to respond. In that moment, he realized life as he knew it teetered on the edge of something dark and irreversible. Everett perched on the edge of his leather office chair, flipping through documents Harvey had sent over. His attorney had revised their prenuptial agreement to clarify certain clauses, just in case. On the screen, an email from a private security firm, Wolfi Security, outlined discreet surveillance options for domestic concerns. A subtle knock sounded on the doorframe. Cassandra stepped inside. She wore a fitted black blazer over a silk blouse, as though she'd come directly from a high-profile meeting. Her posture radiated confidence, but her eyes betrayed a hint of nervous energy. "I thought we should talk before dinner," she began, taking a seat opposite his desk. "We both need clarity." Everett folded his hands, trying to project calm. "I'm listening." She reached into her purse and pulled out a small flyer. "I booked a suite at the Silhouette Hotel. This Saturday. I want you there." He stared at the flyer, an advertisement for a luxurious weekend package. "Why?" Her voice softened, almost affectionate. "I'm giving you a chance to see what I'm talking about, to see that it's not some cheap betrayal, but an exploration. Marilyn knows a few people." Everett's face went hot. "So you're inviting me to watch you with someone else? Is that what you're asking?" Cassandra closed her eyes briefly, inhaling. "Yes, I'd prefer you join me, at least be in the room. Maybe then you'll understand it's not about replacing you." He rose from his chair, unsettled to the core. "You're delusional if you think I'll just stand aside and let you do this." For a moment she glanced away, her expression faltering. Then, as though steeling herself, she locked eyes with him. "You can call it delusion. But if you don't come, I'll go ahead anyway. At least if you're there, we can handle it together." His mind whirled. On one hand, the concept was revolting. On the other, he felt a perverse urge to see how far she'd go to gather proof if she insisted on crossing that line. The thought made his stomach coil, but a new kind of determination flickered. If she wants war, I'll be prepared. Cassandra stood, smoothing her blazer. "I'd rather not fight. Let's keep it civil. You've got a day to think about it." She walked out, leaving the flyer on his desk. Everett's gaze fell to the glossy image. A romantic suite with a breathtaking skyline view. The irony stung like salt in a wound. Almost on cue, his phone rang. He snatched it up, grateful for a distraction. Everett Bradford speaking. "Mr. Bradford, this is Brent Maxwell from Wolfi Security," came a polite, efficient voice. "You inquired about surveillance services?" "Yes," Everett said, carefully lowering himself back into the chair. He glanced at the hallway to ensure Cassandra wasn't listening. "I need something discreet. I have reasons to believe my wife is planning an affair." A pause crackled over the line. "We specialize in these situations. Cameras, audio if necessary, real-time alerts. We can arrange it quickly." "Time is short," Everett murmured, eyeing the hotel flyer. "I'll need everything in place by this weekend." "Understood. I'll email you the details," Brent said. "We'll get it done." After ending the call, Everett tossed the phone onto the desk. He felt the weight of decisions pressing down on him. Should he confront Cassandra Hedden? Or silently gather proof? See how far she'd go? Either way, the countdown to Saturday had begun, and each passing hour churned his anxiety. Deep inside, a mixture of dread and anger raged. He recalled the spark in Cassandra's eyes, how she described her plan as an exploration. Was this the woman he married? Or had the years changed them both into strangers? He rose, walked over to the window, and stared into the fading daylight. The silent suburban street gave no hint of the emotional storm inside this house. In the final ray of sun, he made a vow to himself, "No matter what happens, I won't be blindsided." He stood there until dark fell, heart pounding with a stark realization this Saturday could destroy his marriage, or at least reveal truths he feared to face. One way or another, the path forward would be carved by the choice he made next. Everett Bradford drummed his fingers against the polished surface of his mahogany desk. The sunlight filtering through the tall windows illuminated floating specks of dust, giving the office an oddly serene appearance, an ironic contrast to the turmoil in his mind. He had just finished a tense phone call with Harvey Coleman, who repeated his advice. "Get solid proof, Everett. Make sure everything is properly documented if Cassandra pushes this." A second call, this time with Wolf-Eye Security, soon followed. "We'll handle equipment installation by tomorrow," said a brisk female voice. "My name is Jade Patterson, your lead consultant. I'll bring a small team at noon." Everett exhaled heavily, leaning back in his leather chair. It felt surreal hiring professionals to monitor his own home, something he never imagined he'd do. But Cassandra's increasingly defiant attitude and cryptic hints about seeing someone else left him no choice. The past few days had been rife with tension. Cassandra had barely spoken to him since she returned from her brunch with Marilyn Vaughn. When they crossed paths in the hallway or kitchen, her eyes were distant. She seemed completely uninterested in addressing the elephant in the room. Suddenly, the sound of the front door opening echoed through the house. Everett stiffened. In the quiet corridor leading to his office, footsteps approached. A soft knock followed. "Everett?" Cassandra's voice, controlled, polite. "I'm heading out for a couple of hours. I'll be back before dinner." He cleared his throat, forcing a neutral tone. "Right, I'll be home." She lingered by the door a moment longer, her slender silhouette outlined by the morning light. She seemed on the verge of saying something but decided against it, turning away with a click of her heels. Everett let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. "If she won't tell me where she's going, I'll find out on my own," he thought, guilt twisting in his chest. But this was the reality. Now he needed answers. Standing outside the cottage on his property, Everett wiped his brow. The sun was unrelenting, giving the air a sticky, humid quality. Set about 50 yards from the main house, the cottage had once been intended for his late mother-in-law. Now it remained mostly empty, a spare guest space rarely visited at least by him. A black SUV pulled up the gravel driveway, and 3 individuals emerged. Jade Patterson, a poised woman with short-cropped hair and sharp brown eyes, plus 2 technicians lugging hard cases of equipment. "Mr. Bradford," Jade greeted, offering a firm handshake. "Let's get to work." They headed inside the cottage. The musty scent of disuse clung to the air, but the small living area and bedroom were neat. Cassandra had kept it in decent condition, though Everett suspected she wasn't the only one stepping inside these days. While the technicians examined corners for camera placements, Jade stepped aside with Everett to confirm details. "Our systems include discrete microcams and audio sensors," she explained, voice low. "We'll sync them to a secure server you can access. If you have concerns about real-time alerts, we can set that up too, though it's more costly." Everett nodded. "Discreet is key. Cassandra might be using this place to meet someone. I can't have her noticing we installed anything." Jade offered a sympathetic smile. "Unfortunately, we see this a lot. Spouses suspecting extramarital activity. But I'll ensure everything is hidden behind vents or in overhead fixtures." "She won't have a clue." Before Everett could respond, one technician waved them over, pointing to a concealed corner between the ceiling beams. Jade gave him a thumbs up. "That's perfect." Moments later, Everett felt his phone vibrate. He stepped outside to answer. A text from Cassandra popped up. "Meeting Marilyn again for lunch. Don't wait up. See." No mention of where or when, no warmth or courtesy. He stared at the screen, heart heavy. Just a couple more days to confirm everything, he told himself. Then I'll decide my next move. By late evening, the Wolf-Eye team had finished. Everett walked them to the door, exchanging polite goodbyes, then locked up. He peered upstairs. Cassandra's bedroom light was off. meaning she was likely sleeping or pretending to. He flipped open his laptop in the dimly lit living room, navigating to the security portal Jade had provided. The interface showed multiple camera feeds labeled cottage entrance, cottage living room, cottage bedroom, all black for now. He clenched his jaw, realizing this was a grim milestone in his marriage. A reflection of his own face stared back in the laptop screen, fatigued eyes, worry lines deeper than they'd been a week ago. "Just watch, wait, and see," a voice inside him said. "The truth can't hide forever." He glanced around the silent house. Shadows wrapped themselves around the furniture, and the hum of the air conditioner felt loud in the emptiness. Everett rubbed his temples, half wishing he could wind back time to when life was simpler, when an anniversary dinner didn't spiral into secrecy and betrayal. But that was gone. All he had now was vigilance, the promise of technology, and an anxious heart waiting to see what Cassandra would do next. Everett paced near the cafe's glass storefront, waiting for Jade. She had texted him early in the morning with urgent news. "We've captured some footage at the cottage. Need to show you." He felt a chill despite the city's warm air. The downtown bustle provided little comfort. Street vendors barked out greetings and occasional horns blared in traffic. What did they find so quickly? He wondered. Jade arrived, dressed in a casual blazer, scanning the crowd until she spotted him. She beckoned him inside, leading him to a quiet table in the back corner. A swirl of coffee aroma drifted past, mingling with the low hum of conversation. "Morning, Mr. Bradford," Jade said, flipping open a tablet. "I'll cut right to the chase. Yesterday evening, around 5 p.m., your wife and a man entered the cottage. The cameras picked up audio, too." His heart pounded. "Amari?" he said under his breath. Jade shrugged. "I can't confirm his identity, but he's tall, wearing a dark suit, close-cropped hair. We got a partial look at his face. There was physical contact kissing. Then they moved into the bedroom area." She tapped the screen, her expression professional. "We turned off audio once it got explicit, but you have enough to suspect a romantic relationship." Everett swallowed hard. In a single day, everything felt more concrete, more real. "Thank you," he managed, voice strained. "That's not all," Jade continued. "Your wife was telling him about a plan this Saturday at the Silhouette Hotel. Something about watching and how she wants the event to be unforgettable." Jade hesitated before adding, "She also hinted that you might attend." A jolt went through Everett. Cassandra had threatened to have him there, as if he'd witness her infidelity firsthand. Hearing it confirmed by a stranger's testimony felt like stepping on broken glass. "Okay," he said, clearing his throat. "This lines up with what she's been hinting at." A flicker of compassion crossed Jade's face. "I've seen a lot of sad situations, but rarely something so orchestrated. We'll keep everything documented in case you need it for legal proceedings." Everett nodded, staring at the tabletop as if the wood grain might reveal answers. "Thank you, Jade. Keep me posted." They parted ways, and Everett left the cafe feeling dazed. The sidewalk under his feet seemed to shift. People rushed by with their own busy lives, oblivious to the heartbreak etched into his. Everett had promised himself he'd maintain some normalcy by going into the office. The bright, modern lobby of Bradford Industries usually gave him pride, a testament to his leadership and success. Today it felt hollow. His assistant, Mariah, approached with a concerned expression. "Mr. Bradford, are you all right? You look pale." "Just a headache," he lied, forcing a tight smile. "Any updates I need to see?" She handed him a file. "A few proposals for next quarter. And there's a call from your father, Roderick, waiting on line 3. He sounded worried. Everett sighed. "I'll take it in my office." He strode past a cluster of glass-walled conference rooms, ignoring the curious glances from employees who sensed their usually composed CEO seemed off his game. In his private office, he sank into the plush chair and picked up the phone. "Dad?" Roderick's voice crackled warmly on the other end. "Son, it's been a few days. Any chance you can fill me in on what's happening? You sound distracted." Everett hesitated, summoning enough composure to respond. "It's complicated, Dad. Cassandra and I, there's trouble brewing." A concerned grunt sounded. "I figured. Cassandra came by my place last week, ranting about new experiences in marriage. She asked some odd questions about finances, too. Didn't sit right with me. Hearing that made Everett's stomach twist. "Thanks for letting me know," he said quietly. "Everett," Roderick continued, his tone fatherly but firm, "whatever you do, protect yourself. You've worked too hard to let it all crumble." "I know, Dad. Thanks." He ended the call, pressing his forehead against his palm. His father's words echoed ominously. Protect yourself. That was all this week seemed to be about. Cassandra breezed in after sunset, her purse dangling from a manicured hand. She was dressed in a sleek pencil skirt and an emerald blouse, looking every bit the picture of poise. Everett observed her from where he stood by the dining table, arms folded. "You're back late," he said, voice restrained. She shrugged. "I had to finalize some errands with Marilyn. Nothing you'd be interested in." He caught the subtle venom in her tone. Slowly, he approached. "Cassandra, about Saturday." She pressed her lips together in a smug smile. "Yes, Saturday at the Silhouette? Still deciding if you'll come watch?" Everett's jaw clenched. "You're really doing this?" A slight roll of her eyes. "I'm not repeating myself. If you want to see what real freedom looks like, you have to be there." His emotions roiled, but he managed a controlled response. "Don't push me too far." She merely laughed softly and walked away, leaving his words hanging like stale air. For all her talk, Cassandra was forging ahead, heedless of the consequences. Everett stood alone in the dining room, wishing the walls could whisper solutions. Instead, they bore silent witness to a marriage unraveling under secrets, manipulation, and twisted desires. Everett hadn't slept much. He found himself up at dawn, swirling black coffee in a mug, listening to the quiet hum of the neighborhood waking. The sound of a car engine revving outside indicated Cassandra had just left, possibly meeting Marilyn or someone else. His phone buzzed, a welcome distraction. The caller ID read Oliver Bradford. He quickly answered. "Dad?" Oliver's voice came through, warm but tinged with concern. "Just wanted to check in. I've got a break from classes. Maybe I can swing by this weekend?" Everett pressed the phone closer. He missed his son deeply, but the timing was brutal. "Oliver, I'd love to see you, but it's complicated. Your mother and I are dealing with something. Maybe next week?" There was a pause. "Is everything okay?" "You sound stressed." Everett hesitated, picturing Oliver's earnest face. He didn't want to lie outright. "We're having some marital issues. I don't want you to worry, though." A soft sigh echoed. "Dad, I'm not a kid anymore. I can handle the truth." Everett glanced around as though Cassandra might pop in. "It's better you focus on school for now. I promise I'll explain once things settle." Reluctantly, Oliver agreed. "Fine. But if you need me if things get out of control, just call. I'll catch the earliest flight." A surge of gratitude swelled in Everett's chest. "Thanks, son. Be safe." After hanging up, he stared at his reflection in the bedroom mirror. His eyes looked tired, with faint shadows underneath. If Oliver saw me like this, he'd know something's terribly wrong. Everett rummaged through a stack of mail on the granite countertop. Bills, ads, and a magazine with Cassandra's name. He flipped through mindlessly until a folded note slipped out. It was on pink stationery, scrawled in loopy handwriting. "Cassandra, don't forget we're meeting Friday to iron out every detail. Amari's excited too. You're so brave to do this. Marilyn?" Everett felt his pulse pound at the mention of Amari. He stuffed the note back, hands trembling. They're not even hiding it from each other anymore. He fumed internally. The sense of betrayal cut deeper with each discovered clue. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. He opened the front door to find a grocery delivery guy. "Morning. Got your order here." "Signature, please?" Confused, Everett frowned. "I didn't order any groceries." The delivery man checked his phone. "Says Cassandra Bradford placed an order for a case of champagne and some fancy hors d'oeuvres." Everett forced a stiff smile. "Fine. Bring them in." As the guy wheeled in a crate of sparkling wine and an array of gourmet items, Everett felt a fresh wave of dread. This must be for Saturday night, he realized. She's planning some elaborate scenario. He thanked the delivery man and closed the door, staring at the supplies. A cluster of fluted champagne glasses peeked from the packaging. Bile rose in his throat at the thought of Cassandra celebrating her twisted freedom with another man. Everett hovered at his laptop, scanning the security portal's updates from Jade. No new sightings in the cottage since the day before, but Jade assured him the cameras would remain active in case Cassandra returned with Amari or any other guest. His phone chimed, displaying a text from Jade. "No further activity at the cottage today. We'll alert you if that changes." Everett typed a quick reply. "Thanks. Suspect they'll lay low until Sat." He shut the laptop, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Tension coiled in his shoulders. The seconds ticked by painfully slowly. 2 more days, he reminded himself, and I'll have clarity even if it destroys me. The house felt colder than usual, despite the mild evening. Cassandra was out again, presumably finalizing her plans. The hush in each room underscored his isolation. A swirl of regret and bitterness churned in him. Despite everything, a small part of Everett yearned for Cassandra to back down, to realize the damage. But each passing day made that seem impossible. She was barreling ahead, and so was he. The final night before Cassandra's so-called event arrived. Everett sat at his desk, eyes fixed on a neat stack of documents, the original prenuptial agreement, some preliminary divorce papers Harvey had prepared, and a folder labeled video evidence. It was surreal, like staring at weapons assembled for battle. He heard footsteps and looked up. Cassandra leaned against the doorway, dressed in a silk blouse and dark trousers, hair pinned up elegantly. Her gaze flicked to the papers on his desk. "Legal documents, Everett? Are we jumping to that already?" she asked with mock innocence. He stood, voice measured. "I won't let you blindside me. Whatever happens tomorrow, I'm going to be prepared." She smirked, folding her arms. "You're so dramatic. It's just one night, one unforgettable experience. Nobody's forcing you to come watch." A burning anger roiled in his chest, but he kept it reined in. "Yes, I'll be there," he said, surprising himself with how steady he sounded. "I want to see what you're risking everything for." Her expression flickered with a hint of surprise, then amusement. "Fair enough. You'll see. And maybe you'll finally understand me." He clenched his jaw. "I think I already do." She gave a nonchalant shrug. "Suit yourself. By the way, I booked the suite under my name. Don't be late." Before he could respond, she turned and left. He heard her footsteps fade down the hallway, followed by the soft click of her bedroom door. Alone on the couch, Everett sipped a glass of water, his mind a chaotic storm. "I'll be there," he'd told her. What does that even mean? He pictured the sleek hotel suite, Cassandra with Amari. Heat flared in his veins, both from disgust and a twisted need to gather undeniable proof. His phone buzzed once more. A text from Harvey. "Everything set for tomorrow if you need me. Don't do anything rash." Everett exhaled, typing back, "I'll keep my head clear. Thanks." He wished he could slip into some alternate reality where tomorrow didn't matter, where his wife wasn't orchestrating an affair in front of his eyes. But that reality didn't exist. The ceiling fan whirred overhead, slicing the silence into languid pieces. In that hush, the entire house felt haunted by tension. Everett's heart hammered with every passing minute, reminding him that once tomorrow came, there'd be no going back. He set his empty glass on the coffee table and stood, shoulders squared. If Cassandra believed he would crumple without a fight, she was mistaken. He'd spent 23 years building a marriage with her, giving everything he had. Now she wanted to shatter it all in one dramatic display? A steely resolve settled over him. He would not be destroyed by anyone's twisted fantasies. Gathering up the legal files, he headed toward his office for one final review. Each step echoed with the promise that come Saturday night, the lines would be drawn and the truth laid bare. The clink of wine glasses and low murmur of conversation filled the second-floor restaurant in the Silhouette Hotel. This establishment was more intimate than the grand dining area downstairs, velvet-lined booths, dimmed golden lights, and a jazz trio playing softly in the corner. Everett Bradford found no comfort in the warm decor. If anything, the subdued glow felt suffocating. Across the table, Cassandra Bradford tapped her French manicured nails on the linen. She seemed oddly at ease, glancing at her phone every few seconds. She wore a sleek black dress, low-cut and figure-hugging, an outfit that felt more provocative than celebratory. Sighing inwardly, Everett wondered if she'd chosen it for him, or for her lover. He tried to keep his voice calm. "You've barely touched your meal, Cassandra." She lifted a shoulder in a careless shrug. "I'm not hungry tonight." Her phone vibrated. A quick flick of her gaze revealed the name lighting up the screen. Amari. Making no attempt to hide it, Cassandra smiled and typed a response. "Don't look so shocked," she said, noticing Everett's rigid posture. "I told you I wasn't going to pretend." Everett clenched his fists under the table. "I'm not shocked," he lied. "Just disappointed." Every word felt like a forced swallow of broken glass. Across the room, a young waiter approached, adjusting his bow tie nervously. "Sir, ma'am, more wine?" Cassandra gave a coy nod. "Yes, please, a full glass." When the waiter left, Everett cleared his throat. "So, this is how it's going to be, huh? You texting him right in front of me?" She rested her phone face up, meeting his gaze. "Amari's upstairs, Everett. We're planning the suite arrangement." A triumphant gleam shone in her eyes. "I wanted you to have a chance to finish dinner before things get interesting." He inhaled slowly, counting backward from 5. "Stay calm." "Cassandra, you have no idea." "Oh, I do," she cut in. "I know exactly what I'm doing. Either watch quietly or walk away. Your choice." Before Everett could respond, the waiter returned with a bottle of red. Cassandra downed half her newly poured glass in a single, reckless gulp. The tension crackled, each shared glance an unspoken challenge. In a corner booth, a couple celebrating an anniversary laughed softly, oblivious to the storm unfolding just feet away. Everett envied their innocence. The jazz trio struck a smooth chord progression, adding a layer of elegance that felt painfully out of place given the circumstances. Cassandra's phone buzzed again. She smiled briefly, standing up and brushing an invisible wrinkle from her dress. "He's ready," she announced. "Suite 1402. I'll see you there if you have the stomach for it." Everett watched her exit, heels tapping on the polished floor, each step echoing a countdown in his mind. The instant she vanished behind the restaurant doors, he exhaled a ragged breath. He paid the check without glancing at the total, ignoring the waiter's polite attempt at conversation. The swirl of conflicting emotions, outrage, sorrow, perverse curiosity propelled him to follow. Everett approached the suite door, tension coiled in his muscles. A faint sound of subdued laughter trickled through the thick wood. The polished plaque reading 1,402 inches glowed under the corridor's soft lighting as though mocking him. He tapped the door lightly, then tried the handle, unlocked. The smell of expensive cologne, unfamiliar and sharply masculine, hit him first, mingled with the hint of Cassandra's floral perfume. A small living area opened before him, modern white couches, a low-glass coffee table, half-drawn curtains showcasing the city lights below. Seated on one couch was Amari Price Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a tailored suit. He radiated confidence, an easy grin curving his lips as he locked eyes with Everett. "Ah, so the husband decided to show," he said in a smooth baritone. "Cassandra said you might." Cassandra, standing near the window, turned. Her dress caught the overhead light, revealing every contour. She gave Everett a slow, almost indulgent smile. "Well, darling, you made it. Good." There was a challenge in her voice, daring him to protest. Everett steadied himself. "You need evidence," he reminded his pounding heart. He'd brought a small micro-recorder in his pocket, courtesy of Wolf Eye Security, though Cassandra didn't know it. Amari rose, buttoning his suit jacket with a casual grace. "Should I pour you a drink, Mr. Bradford? I doubt you want to watch this sober." Everett grimaced, fists clenching. "Skip the small talk." Cassandra crossed the room, her eyes flashing with a mix of excitement and something more. "Everett, if you want me to stop, say so." But her tone brimmed with insincerity. She expected him to stand idle, to say nothing. A silent beat stretched. Then he spoke through gritted teeth. "Do what you came to do, Cassandra. Show me everything." A wave of heat flushed Cassandra's cheeks' anticipation, not shame. Without hesitating, she reached for Amari's collar, pulling him into a heated kiss. The cityscape glittered behind them like a witness to betrayal. Everett fought the urge to lunge forward, to tear them apart. Instead, he drew in a shaky breath and let the phone in his pocket record what it could. Keep it together, he thought, nausea churning in his gut. In a matter of moments, Cassandra slipped off the top half of her dress. Amari's hands roamed over her with a proprietary boldness, pressing her back against the armrest of the couch. She cast a triumphant glance at Everett as if to say, "Look at what I can do, and you can't stop me." Everett's world tilted. His heart hammered so violently he wondered if they could hear it. The moans and whispers swirling in the plush suite battered his ears. He felt both transfixed and repulsed, unable to tear his gaze away from the spectacle, a grotesque dance of infidelity performed solely for his witness. He managed to fish his phone from his pocket, pretending to fidget with it. In truth, he was capturing a short video clip. Hard proof, his mind insisted, though guilt prickled through him. This was the final nail in the coffin of their marriage, a scene no spouse should ever have to watch. Suddenly, Cassandra turned her head, hair whipping across her flushed face. "You see?" she hissed, voice breathy. "This is the kind of freedom I want no more hiding." She laughed, a sound that stabbed Everett's chest. "Your presence tonight just completes it." Amari shot Everett a mocking glance. "I think he's had enough, Cass. Or maybe not." He smirked. Something inside Everett snapped. He shoved the phone deep into his blazer pocket and backed away, voice thick with unleashed fury. "I've seen all I need." Cassandra's eyes flickered with the slightest hesitation, but pride held her in place. She let out a soft, defiant laugh as Amari's arms remained wrapped around her. "Then go," she whispered, meeting Everett's gaze head-on. "You were never strong enough for me anyway." That last sentence felt like a blade twisting between Everett's ribs. Without another word, he turned and stormed out, the door slamming behind him. The hallway air felt suffocating, but it was a relief compared to the suffocating betrayal inside Suite 1402. Everett nearly sprinted toward the elevator. A hush blanketed the corridor, broken only by the distant murmur of other guests behind closed doors. His thoughts reeled anger, heartbreak, a cold clarity about what he had to do next. He stabbed the elevator button repeatedly. "Come on," he muttered under his breath. His pulse roared in his ears. "You have the recording," he reminded himself. "That's enough. Leave. Protect what's left of your life." At last, the elevator doors slid open. Once inside, he pressed the lobby button. The downward ride felt like an eternity. The polished mirror walls reflected a man undone, tie askew, eyes feral with hurt, brow slick with sweat. In the silent, marbled lobby, a friendly concierge at the front desk offered a greeting. "Good evening, sir. Need anything?" "No," Everett rasped, voice hoarse. He strode past, not sparing a glance for the lavish decor or the gentle fountain trickling in the center. The doorman nodded politely, but Everett barely registered him. Outside, the night air slapped his face, unexpectedly cold. He inhaled, calling up Harvey Coleman's number. "He's your lawyer and friend, tell him everything." The phone rang twice before a groggy voice answered. "Harvey," Everett said, forcing composure. "It's done. I saw them. No more doubts." Harvey's tone sharpened. "Everett, are you all right? Where are you?" "Outside the Silhouette Hotel. Cassandra, it was real, right in front of me." His voice broke, but he willed himself not to collapse. "I need you to proceed with our plan." Harvey exhaled gently. "All right. I'll start freezing joint accounts, halting credit cards. We'll get the legal documents prepared for immediate filing on Monday. Do you have any footage?" "Yes," Everett managed. He felt tears burning at the corners of his eyes, but refused to let them fall. "I'll share it once I'm stable, maybe tomorrow. I can't be in that house tonight." "Then find a hotel," Harvey suggested quickly. "I can arrange a short-term suite somewhere else, or—" "No," Everett interrupted, hailing a passing cab with a wave of his hand. "I can't stay here. I'm leaving town, at least for a bit." Harvey paused, voice gentling. "I understand. Just text me your new phone number or address if you change it. Keep safe, Everett." He ended the call, heart hammering. The cab driver gave a quick nod as Everett slid into the back seat. "Where to?" asked the driver, turning down the radio. Everett swallowed hard, meeting the driver's gaze in the rearview mirror. "Airport," he whispered. please." Without further questions, the driver pulled away from the curb. City lights streaked by in blurred neon. In the distance, Silhouette's towering form shrank behind them, like a monument to the betrayal and heartbreak he was leaving behind. The overhead lights in the terminal illuminated Everett's weary features. Suit jacket slung over one arm, he clutched a small carry-on bag. His flight to Costa Rica was scheduled for just after midnight, an impulsive decision, but one he couldn't second-guess. The single plane ticket felt like his lifeline to a fresh start. A swirl of travelers bustled around him, families juggling luggage, business people typing away on laptops, couples talking excitedly about their vacations. No one paid attention to the solitary man standing near the check-in counter, looking hollowed out from the inside. He typed out a message to Oliver. "Son, I'm going away for a while. I need space. There's a lot you deserve to know, but I'll explain soon. Take care of yourself. Dad." He hesitated a moment, finger hovering above send. Then he pressed it. A part of him felt guilty for not revealing the full truth to Oliver, but this was not the time. "I'll tell him everything once the dust settles." Next, he texted Roderick, his father, with a brief note. "I'm leaving tonight. Trust me on this. I'll be in touch." Finally, he glanced at the lines for security. His flight was in less than an hour. He moved toward the line, repeating silent mantras to keep from unraveling. "You'll be okay. You have everything you need to protect yourself. You can't fix Cassandra's choice, but you can decide your own path." The airport's cool air conditioning brushed against his face, almost soothing. He reminded himself of the loaded phone in his blazer pocket, the evidence. He had a second device, too, courtesy of Wolf-Eye Security, containing the raw footage from the cottage. Combined, it was more than enough for a solid legal case. As he inched closer to the TSA checkpoint, an announcement crackled overhead. "Flight 227 to San Jose, Costa Rica, now boarding at Gate B21. Everett inhaled deeply. This was it, the final step away from the life he'd known. He couldn't help but think of the suite's door slamming behind him, Cassandra's mocking eyes, the swirl of cologne in that claustrophobic space. Never again, he vowed silently. After clearing security, he hurried to the gate, heart pounding with a mix of sorrow and relief. The gate agent scanned his boarding pass, offering a polite smile. The plane loomed just beyond the jet bridge, a vessel promising escape if only temporary. Moments later, he found himself in a window seat, staring at the city lights below. They looked like spilled gold against the darkness. With a shaky sigh, Everett leaned his head back, eyes closed. "I can't believe this is my life now," he thought, the hum of the engines rising. The captain's voice chimed over the intercom, announcing final checks. As the plane taxied onto the runway, Everett's phone buzzed once. He glanced at it, a last text from Harvey. "All set. Call me once you land. Harvey." He switched the phone to airplane mode, tucking it away. The aircraft roared, powering into the sky, leaving the city's lights behind. Pressed against the seat, Everett watched the glow recede, heart twisting with heartbreak, yet strangely anchored by a grim determination. He was done with this life, the illusions, the humiliations. Ahead lay the unknown, but at least it was a space free from Cassandra's betrayal. As the cabin settled into cruising altitude, Everett let his eyes close, letting exhaustion overtake him. He knew part 3 of his life had ended the moment Cassandra chose Amari in that suite. Now he was flying toward a different horizon, uncertain but undeniably his own. The small regional airport in Costa Rica bustled with subdued excitement. Tourists lugged bags full of beachwear, while returning locals greeted each other with warm hugs. Stepping off the plane, Everett Bradford inhaled the moist, tropical air. It carried faint hints of salt and palm so different from the cold city he'd left behind. Near the arrivals area, a neatly dressed woman held a sign reading, "Mr. Bradford." She had sun-kissed skin, dark hair pulled into a practical ponytail, and bright, friendly eyes. Recognizing her from the photo Harvey Coleman had sent, Everett managed a weary smile and approached. "You must be Selena?" he asked, voice strained by jet lag and lingering heartbreak. She nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, Mr. Bradford. I'm your driver and assistant while you're in Costa Rica. Welcome." Her American English held a lilting undertone that hinted at a local accent. "Let me help you with your luggage." They walked to a sleek black SUV parked outside. The air felt thick with humidity, but a warm breeze fanned across Everett's face. He realized he hadn't truly relaxed in months, maybe years. Once on the coastal highway, Selena offered polite conversation. "So, you're here for an extended stay," she ventured. Everett gazed out the window. The night sky stretched infinitely, dotted with unfamiliar constellations. Below, the ocean glimmered under a faint moonlight. "That's the plan. I need a change of scenery." Selena gave a knowing nod. "I've set up the beach villa just as instructed. You'll have groceries, fresh linens, anything you need to get settled." After half an hour, they pulled up to a wrought iron gate that opened onto a winding drive framed by palm trees. At the end sat a tasteful villa white stucco walls, broad windows facing the sea, and a terracotta roof. Its design was contemporary but blended with the local style, giving it a gentle elegance. "Here we are," Selena announced, parking near the front steps. She turned off the engine, the sudden hush magnifying the soothing rumble of distant waves. Everett stepped out, suitcase in hand. A wave of exhaustion crept over him, but something else stirred relief, maybe. He followed Selena inside. The interior boasted polished tile floors, high ceilings, and airy rooms designed to let in the coastal breeze. Even in the dim glow of a few strategically placed lamps, it felt calming. "I'll leave you be," Selena said, handing him a set of keys. "If you need anything, my number's on the counter. I live about 15 minutes away, and I can drive you around whenever you like." He nodded, words failing him for a moment. "Thank you, Selena. Really." She smiled softly. "Get some rest, Mr. Bradford. Tomorrow, you can see the beach in daylight. It's stunning." When she was gone, Everett let his shoulders sag. He wandered into the living area, dropping onto a plush couch. The sliding glass doors revealed the moonlit ocean just steps away. For the first time in ages, he felt distant from the betrayal, from the city's chaos. Yet a hollow ache throbbed in his chest, reminding him he'd come here not by choice, but by necessity. He set his phone on the glass coffee table. No missed calls from Cassandra. He doubted she'd even notice he was gone. Releasing a long breath, Everett flicked off the lamp. The darkness embraced him, and the rhythmic sound of crashing waves became a lullaby. Before he knew it, he slipped into a dreamless sleep, the tension in his body melting away into the warm Costa Rican night. Sunrise revealed a breathtaking panorama. The blue-green ocean glittered under a cloudless sky, and gentle breezes carried the scent of sea salt and blossoming hibiscus. Everett woke early, stepping onto the villa's patio to soak in the view. For a moment, the previous night's anguish felt like a distant memory. Deciding he needed coffee and a clearer head, he hopped into a small rental car Selena had arranged. After a short drive down a palm-lined road, he found a cozy cafe perched at the edge of a sandy lane. Its sign, Sol y Sombra Café, was hand-painted in vibrant tropical hues. Inside, a handful of customers chatted softly. Ceiling fans spun lazily, and the aroma of freshly ground beans filled the air. Everett chose a seat by the window, letting the sunshine warm his back. A friendly barista approached. "Buenos dias, señor. What can I get for you?" "Just a black coffee, please," Everett replied, forcing a polite smile. He stared at the passing beachgoers outside, tourists with colorful towels, locals riding bicycles, a dog trotting happily beside a surfer. Everything felt so alive. Is it possible to start over? He wondered. Just then, a melodic voice broke into his thoughts. "Mind if I sit here? Place seems kind of full." He looked up to see a woman with an intriguing blend of Mediterranean features, olive-toned skin, black hair, and striking hazel eyes. She wore a light sundress, the color of sand, and held a small notebook in one hand. "Sure," Everett said, curiosity piqued. "Thank you." She slid into the chair across from him, setting her notebook on the table. "I'm Sophia Williams. I noticed you yesterday when Selena picked you up at the airport. We live in the same neighborhood." Everett blinked, momentarily taken aback by her directness. Everett Bradford," he introduced himself, returning her friendly nod. "You're a neighbor, then?" Sophia shrugged lightly. "Sort of. My villa's down the coast a bit, near the rocky cliffs. It's a beautiful stretch of shoreline, though a bit secluded. Their conversation flowed with surprising ease. Sophia slipped between crisp American English and musical Spanish when greeting the barista, revealing a confident bilingualism. They chatted about the best local spots, fresh fruit stands, hidden coves perfect for an evening walk, and a weekly artisan market. As the conversation deepened, Everett learned Sophia was widowed 3 years ago. She'd found solace in Costa Rica's tranquil environment, immersing herself in the culture and volunteering part-time at a local community center. "And you?" she asked gently, sipping her iced coffee. "You mentioned Selena, so this must be new for you. Are you here on business or escape?" For a moment, Everett hesitated. The memory of Cassandra's betrayal flickered behind his eyes like a scorching brand. He settled on a measured response. "Let's just say I needed a break from my old life." Sophia pursed her lips thoughtfully. "Well, I hope you find whatever peace you're looking for." Her words carried warmth, but also a quiet empathy. Everett felt a subtle pull, a kind of comfort he hadn't expected to find in a stranger. "Thank you," he replied, watching a small smile dance on her lips. Outside, a sudden gust rustled the palm fronds, a whisper of the ocean's power. It reminded Everett how quickly life could change course. For the first time in weeks, he sensed a glimmer of something hope, perhaps, or at least a willingness to see what each new day could offer. After parting ways with Sophia, Everett returned to his villa. He laid out a simple lunch of fresh avocado, bread, and fruit Selena had stocked. The tropical sunlight streamed in through wide windows, but just as he was finishing his meal, his phone buzzed. A call from Harvey Coleman. Everett's pulse quickened. He took a bracing breath and answered. "Harvey?" "Everett," Harvey said, tension crackling in his voice. "Cassandra's gone ballistic. She's talking about challenging the prenup. She claims you tacitly allowed her arrangement, says it invalidates everything." A swirl of anger rose in Everett's chest, but he kept it under control. "We have the footage. We have proof I never agreed." "I know," Harvey replied, "but her lawyer might push for a hearing soon. You'll likely be asked to come back and testify. Otherwise, we risk them filing motions behind your back." Everett rubbed his temple. He stared out the glass doors, longing for the sight of the ocean's calm horizon. "I left because I needed to breathe, Harvey. But if I have to face her again—" "I get it," Harvey said, voice gentling. "Just remember, you have a strong case. The sooner we handle it, the sooner you can close that chapter." They hung up, leaving Everett with a dull ache in his chest. The last thing he wanted was a legal showdown, but running forever wouldn't solve anything. A soft knock on the door startled him. He opened it to find Sophia standing there, a delicate scarf draped around her shoulders. "Your assistant, Selena, told me which villa was yours," she said apologetically. "Hope I'm not intruding." Everett forced a small smile. "Not at all. Come in." Sophia stepped inside, glancing around with polite curiosity. "I just finished an errand nearby. Thought I'd see if you needed help settling in tools, groceries, a tour. It's easy to feel overwhelmed at first." He considered lying, saying everything was fine, but the worry evidently showed on his face. "I appreciate it. Honestly, I just got a call from my lawyer. My personal problems aren't over." She approached him gently, concern shining in her hazel eyes. "If there's one thing I've learned, you can't outrun what haunts you. Sometimes you need to turn and face it head on." Everett studied her. He sensed a quiet strength beyond her graceful exterior. "You're right, but it's all so—" He pressed his lips together, searching for the right words. "It's a mess." Sophia reached out, briefly touching his arm. Her voice was soft but firm. "Messy or not, you'll have to deal with it eventually. And when you do, at least you'll know you tried. Until then, don't bury yourself in guilt. Let this place, this ocean, this quiet help you heal." Emotion caught in his throat. He managed to nod. "Thank you for saying that." Their eyes locked for a moment, and in that silent exchange, Everett felt a flicker of connection he hadn't known he needed. A gentle breeze stirred the curtains, as though punctuating the moment with the promise of change. An orange sunset painted the sky, melting into a watercolor blend of pink, gold, and lavender. Sophia had mentioned a small beachfront restaurant that served fresh fish tacos and plantain dishes. Everett found himself inviting her there, grateful for the company and a chance to forget his troubles, if only briefly. They sat at a rustic wooden table just off the sand, the rhythmic sound of waves their soundtrack. A few tiki torches flickered around them, bathing the area in a warm glow. Guests meandered along the shore, sometimes pausing to sip cocktails or watch surfers riding the last waves before dark. "So," Sophia said, leaning forward, "you've told me a bit about your business life, but what about your personal passions? Do you have hobbies, hidden talents?" Everett chuckled ruefully, swirling the ice in his water glass. "Used to think my only talent was running a company, but maybe that's part of why I'm here to figure out what else I can do with my life." She gave an encouraging smile. "This place might surprise you. There's a local art class at the community center watercolor painting every Tuesday. Or you could try paddleboarding. I know a guy who gives great lessons." Everett smirked. "Paddleboarding? Let me guess. I'll end up in the water more than on the board." "That's half the fun," Sophia teased. The waitress arrived with their meals: grilled snapper for Everett, seafood stew for Sophia. The fragrant aroma of coconut and spices enveloped them. They dug in, conversation flowing with an unforced ease. Despite the tension coiled in Everett's chest, he found moments of genuine laughter, like when Sophia described her first attempt at surfing, ending in a wipeout that left her tangled in seaweed. When they finished, they walked along the moonlit stretch of sand. The waves lapped at their feet, warm and inviting. A gentle breeze lifted strands of Sophia's hair, and Everett was struck by her profile, soft yet resilient, a reflection of the shimmering water. He swallowed, heart thumping. "I hope this doesn't sound strange," he began quietly, "but meeting you, it's helping me remember life can still be beautiful." Sophia paused, her expression thoughtful. "You've been through something painful, I can tell. But you're here now, braving each new day." His chest tightened with emotion. He gazed at the horizon, where the moonlit ocean stretched into the distance. "I barely know you, but I feel like I can breathe around you. I'm not sure how to explain it." She reached for his hand in a gesture that felt neither rushed nor presumptuous. "We can't force the future, Everett, but we can walk forward step by step." A wave curled around their ankles, sea foam tickling their toes. Everett found himself smiling, a real, unguarded smile for the first time in what felt like ages. For now, he decided, it was enough. He had no final answers, no grand plan, only a quiet stirring of hope. They returned to the restaurant's glow, where their leftover plates waited to be cleared. Sophia gave his hand a gentle squeeze, then released it. "Thank you for tonight," she said, voice carrying a subtle hush. Everett nodded, a warm flush in his cheeks. "Thank you." Back at the villa's entrance later, they said their goodbyes. As Sophia's figure disappeared into the tropical night, Everett felt the corners of his heart beginning to mend. Yes, the shadow of Cassandra's betrayal still loomed, and legal battles would await him soon. But here in Costa Rica, under starlight, with the taste of salt on the breeze, he realized healing might be possible. He stepped inside, the ocean's distant roar comforting instead of haunting. Part of him felt uncertain, even uneasy, about catching feelings so soon after heartbreak. Yet the gentle warmth of Sophia's presence left him feeling more alive than he had in years. The roar of jet engines faded as Everett Bradford stepped off the plane, Sophia Williams at his side. The early morning air in the city clung with a crisp chill, a stark contrast to the tropical warmth he had grown used to in Costa Rica. He forced a breath, scanning the bustling terminal. Despite the swirl of travelers, he felt strangely alone, as though his future hinged on the next few days. "How do you feel?" Sophia asked gently, rolling a carry-on bag behind her. She wore a tailored blazer, hair pinned back in a sleek bun. Though her voice was calm, Everett detected the concern in her eyes. He exhaled, shoulders rigid. "Anxious," he admitted. "But I have to confront this. Harvey says we need to finalize our strategy before the hearing next week." They emerged from the gate area to find Oliver Bradford Everett's 21-year-old son waiting near the luggage carousel. Tall and earnest, Oliver caught sight of them and hurried forward. Dad! Oliver's voice carried relief and worry all at once. He paused, noticing Sophia. Hi, I'm Oliver. Sophia extended a polite hand. Sophia Williams, your dad and I, we're neighbors in Costa Rica. Oliver's eyes flicked to Everett, searching for confirmation. Everett offered a subtle nod, then pulled Oliver into a quick, tight hug. We have a lot to talk about, Everett murmured, voice taut with unspoken tension. Oliver cleared his throat, stepping back. Grandpa's waiting in the car. He lowered his voice. He's not thrilled about everything, but he wants to see you. Roderick Bradford, Everett's father, sat behind the wheel of a sleek black sedan parked at the curb. His salt-and-pepper hair and stern gaze gave him an air of commanding presence, though worry lines etched his forehead. As soon as Everett and Sophia climbed in, Roderick turned, eyes narrowed. You've been gone a while, son, he said tersely. Cassandra's stirring up chaos. I hope you're ready for what's coming. Everett settled Sophia in the back seat before taking the passenger side up front. I'm aware, Dad, and I'm prepared. Roderick flicked a glance at Sophia in the rearview mirror. Harvey told me you'd be bringing a guest, Miss Williams, right? Pardon my bluntness, I'm not accustomed to strangers in my family's business. Sophia answered with quiet composure. I understand, Mr. Bradford. I'm here to support Everett however I can. Roderick nodded, though his features remained taut. He shifted into drive, merging into the flow of traffic leading away from the airport. The tension in the car was palpable, punctured only by the low hum of talk radio. Oliver, seated next to Sophia, ventured a question. Dad, can you at least tell me why you left so abruptly? Everett's grip on the armrest tightened. I discovered some irreconcilable problems with your mother. I couldn't stay. Trust me, it was the only option. Oliver's eyes flickered with hurt. I get that, but you didn't call. You left me in the dark. Sophia placed a gentle hand on Oliver's shoulder. Your father didn't want to burden you until he was sure of his decisions. Roderick exhaled sharply. Let's focus on the future. The court date is set. Cassandra's new lawyer is aggressive. Harvey says they'll claim Everett consented to her actions. Everett shook his head, a flash of anger tugging at his composure. I have evidence to the contrary videos, recorded statements. We're not backing down. They turned onto a wide avenue lined with tall, modern buildings. The city's skyline loomed, an imposing reminder of Everett's responsibilities at Bradford Industries. But first, he had to address the collapse of his marriage. As they pulled up to a tall apartment complex temporary accommodations that Harvey had arranged, Everett cleared his throat. Sophia and I will stay here for a few days while we get the legal details sorted. Dad, I'll keep you updated. Oliver, I want us to talk more, just the two of us. Oliver met his gaze. Sure, Dad. Let's do that soon. Roderick parked, his voice gruff but not unkind. We'll stand by you, Everett. Just don't wait too long to set things right. Everett nodded. Sophia gave Oliver a kind smile before following Everett inside. Standing in the lobby, she reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. You okay? She asked in a low voice. He managed a faint smile. I will be. We've come this far, I can't turn back now. The next morning, Harvey Coleman's downtown law office buzzed with activity. Rows of sleek desks held paralegals sorting through files, phones ringing with urgent calls. Everett and Sophia arrived to find Harvey waiting near the reception desk, his expression serious but relieved. Everett, Harvey said, offering a firm handshake. Glad you're here. And Miss Williams, welcome. Sophia nodded politely. Thank you. Harvey guided them into a glass-walled conference room. On the table lay several thick binders labeled with dates and references. Prenup Agreement Original, Video Evidence Suite, 1402, Cottage Footage. A junior attorney named Becca Hansen joined them carrying a tablet. We've compiled everything, Harvey began. Cassandra's attorney, Martin Harlow, is known for being vicious loves, throwing baseless claims until something sticks. Becca flipped through digital files. They'll argue you tacitly allowed Cassandra's affair, which might invalidate the prenup. They'll also claim emotional distress if you used hidden cameras. However, we can show you had no choice, given her secrecy and the potential financial risk. Everett pressed his lips into a thin line, recalling the humiliating scene in the hotel suite. We have footage from Wolf-Eye Security confirming Cassandra's infidelity well before that night, correct? Harvey nodded. Exactly. And there's your explicit refusal on record. The text messages, the recorded phone calls with me, everything undercuts her claim. You never gave permission. Sophia cleared her throat gently. If Cassandra tries to say Everett left her without financial support, how do we handle that? Becca replied confidently, Mr. Bradford froze joint accounts only after discovering undisputed evidence of infidelity, which the prenup allows. He also sent her a formal notice, offering a settlement in line with the contract. So no, she can't argue abandonment. Harvey turned to Everett, voice tempered with concern. We'll need you on the stand, of course. The judge might also want to hear from Oliver or Roderick if Cassandra's team tries to dispute the family finances. We can minimize that, but it's a possibility. Everett rubbed his temple. Oliver's already under enough stress. Cassandra's going to blame me for destroying the family. I don't want him caught in the crossfire. Harvey's expression softened. I understand, but we'll do our best to protect him. This will be tough, but we have a strong case. Becca packed up the documents, handing a set of copies to Everett. Familiarize yourself with these. We need you comfortable with every detail so you don't get blindsided. Sophia tapped the corner of the prenup file, her tone gentle but resolute. Everett has the truth on his side. That should count for something. A flicker of relief crossed Everett's features. He glanced at Harvey, then at Sophia, grateful they believed in him. You've come so far, he told himself silently. Stand firm. As the meeting wrapped, Harvey escorted them back to the reception area. Court convenes in a few days. Use this time to rest, gather your nerve, and if you can avoid contact with Cassandra. Everett nodded. Thanks, Harvey. Let's see this through. The day of the hearing dawned gray and drizzly, the sky mirroring the tension swirling in Everett's chest. Outside the courthouse, clusters of lawyers and clients hurried through security. Sophia walked beside Everett, offering a steady presence. Near the entrance, Oliver and Roderick approached. Oliver's face looked pinched with concern. Dad, do you really want me in there? Everett hesitated, scanning the crowd. Only if necessary. But I'd appreciate having you close by. This might get messy. Roderick gave a curt nod. We won't leave you to face this alone. Inside the wood-paneled courtroom, fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Harvey Coleman sat at the plaintiff's table, flipping through notes. Across the aisle, Cassandra Bradford waited, flanked by her attorney, Martin Harlow, a tall man in a crisp navy suit radiating smug confidence. Cassandra's gaze flickered over Everett, then Sophia, with a blend of resentment and panic. A bailiff announced, All rise. Judge Hadley presiding. Judge Hadley, a woman with stern eyes and a calm demeanor, took her seat. We're here today regarding the dissolution of marriage between Everett Bradford and Cassandra Bradford, including the enforcement of a prenuptial agreement. Harvey stood, voice clear. Your Honor, my client seeks an expedited ruling. We have substantial evidence of Mrs. Bradford's breach of marital fidelity, triggering the prenup's provisions. Harlow rose smoothly, adjusting his tie. Your Honor, we will demonstrate that Mr. Bradford consented to an open arrangement, thus nullifying any claim of breach. Additionally, Mr. Bradford orchestrated entrapment via hidden cameras. Cassandra sat stiffly, eyes darting between Everett and the judge. A faint tremor ran through her hands, betraying nerves beneath her facade. Judge Hadley leaned forward. Let's proceed, Mr. Coleman. Your opening arguments, please. Harvey laid out the timeline. Repeated refusals from Everett, the surveillance obtained only after strong suspicion, and the explicit footage of Cassandra's affair. He presented texts and phone logs, the prenuptial document, and copies of the security firm's reports. Each piece underscored Everett's consistent stance against Cassandra's illicit behavior. Then Harlow took the floor. His tone dripped with feigned sympathy. Mrs. Bradford felt neglected and emotionally abandoned. Mr. Bradford turned cold, offered no intimacy. She sought excitement. He condoned it, to spy on her for financial gain. A murmuring ripple passed through the sparse spectators. Cassandra bowed her head, as if playing the part of a wounded spouse forced into wrongdoing. Judge Hadley turned an analytical gaze on Everett. Mr. Bradford, Step forward. Everett rose, adjusting his suit jacket. His heart hammered as he approached the witness stand. Keeping his eyes on the judge, he took a solemn oath to tell the truth. Harlow's cross-examination began, biting and insistent. Mr. Bradford, you had cameras installed. Did you not anticipate capturing your wife's private encounters? Weren't you passively encouraging her? Everett's jaw tightened. I installed them because she concealed her actions, and I suspected infidelity. I never encouraged anything. I begged her to stop. Harlow pressed further, brandishing a clipped excerpt from a text. In this message you wrote, if you insist on this, I can't stop you. But you'll regret it. Isn't that acceptance of her behavior? No, Everett answered, voice steady. It's a final plea. I was trying to show her the consequences. When Harvey took over, he asked Everett to confirm timestamps on the cottage footage, proving Cassandra had met Amari well before seeking any so-called permission. Everett confidently verified the details. A hush settled as the final piece of crucial evidence played silent, grainy video showing Cassandra and Amari at the cottage on multiple afternoons, long before the night at the Silhouette Hotel. The judge's expression grew stern, sensing the deception in Cassandra's claims. Across the aisle, Cassandra paled, her posture rigid. Her attorney glowered, flipping through papers in a last-ditch attempt to pivot. Judge Hadley nodded firmly. We'll recess briefly. When we return, I'll render a decision. During the short recess, the tension in the courtroom soared. Cassandra huddled with Harlow, voice too low to overhear. Oliver and Roderick hovered near Everett, while Sophia stood quietly behind him, offering silent support. She's trying to salvage her story, Harvey murmured to Everett. But the evidence is overwhelming. When court reconvened, Judge Hadley surveyed the room. I've reviewed the presented materials, Mrs. Bradford's argument hinges on alleged consent from Mr. Bradford. However, the footage and documented communications show repeated refusals, as well as evidence of Mrs. Bradford's affair before any discussion of an open arrangement. She paused, gaze level. Therefore, the prenuptial agreement remains valid. The dissolution of marriage is granted with no entitlement for Mrs. Bradford beyond the stipulations in that agreement. This court finds in favor of Mr. Bradford. A wave of relief coursed through Everett, though it was tinged with sadness. Cassandra let out a stifled sob, her lawyer's face dark with defeat. Judge Hadley concluded, "Court is adjourned." The gavel struck. Cassandra wavered on her feet, tears staining her meticulously applied makeup. In an instant, she rushed toward Everett, halting a few feet away. "Everett, please!" she choked out, voice trembling. I don't know what else to do. I'm sorry." For a moment, old memories flickered, the love they once shared, the future they once imagined. But the betrayal loomed too large. Everett's eyes reflected a weary sorrow. "Cassandra, I wish things hadn't ended like this. But you made your choice." Her lower lip quivered. If I'd known it would go this far." She couldn't finish. Defeat hung like a storm cloud over her. Slowly, she turned and left the courtroom, Harlow trailing behind. Oliver, eyes welling, took a step forward. "Dad, you okay?" Everett managed a nod, though his voice cracked. "Yes, son, I will be." Roderick placed a supportive hand on Everett's shoulder. "You did what you had to. Let's move forward." Sophia approached quietly, offering Everett a gentle smile. The gravity of the moment settled in a marriage dissolved, a fresh path opening. Outside, midday sunlight streamed through the courthouse windows, as though urging them all into a brighter future. Harvey joined them, patting Everett's back. "Congratulations, if that's the right word. At least legally you're free. Now it's up to you how you use that freedom." Everett inhaled, shoulders finally relaxing. He glanced at Sophia, warmth flickered in her gaze. Oliver hovered near, uncertain but loyal, while Roderick exhaled, his stern face softening with relief. A swirl of emotion rose in Everett's chest, grief for what he lost, gratitude for what he'd gained, and a cautious hope for the days ahead. "Let's go home," he murmured, stepping out of the courtroom's shadows and into the sunlit hall. In that moment, as the bright light embraced them, Everett felt the heavy weight lift from his heart. Yes, Cassandra had made her choice, and he had made his. Now, A new dawn beckoned a chapter waiting to be written with honesty and the promise of real happiness. A crisp winter sun glinted off the glass facade of the courthouse as Everett Bradford and Sophia Williams stepped outside, having just won the legal battle that dissolved Everett's marriage to Cassandra. Though relief coursed through Everett's veins, he couldn't help feeling a tinge of sadness at the finality. Dad. Oliver Bradford approached from where he'd been talking with Roderick near the steps. A swirl of people came and went, but the four of them felt like an island in a churning sea. "You okay?" Oliver asked, his brow knitted with concern. Everett offered a weary half-smile. "I will be. Let's get out of here." Before they could depart, Cassandra emerged from the doors, flanked by her friend Marilyn Vaughn. Cassandra's eyes were puffy, smudged mascara betraying tears. She hesitated, scanning the courtyard until she spotted Everett. For a moment, she looked as if she might rush over, but her gaze flickered to Sophia standing protectively at his side. Cassandra's shoulders sagged. She turned away, leaning on Marilyn for support, heading down the opposite steps. The remnants of her old confidence had vanished, replaced by a hollow, desperate air. Everett observed her, heart twisting in unexpected pity. Roderick cleared his throat. "Son, she made her choice. Let her live with it." Everett swallowed hard. "I know, Dad." Behind them, an old family friend named Hannah Brooks, who had witnessed the final court session, approached quietly. "Everett, I'm so sorry it ended like this." She then glanced at Oliver, patting his arm. "Your mother has a lot to face now. Don't hold back if you need to talk." Oliver nodded, his expression torn. "I hate seeing her like this, but she did this to herself." Sophia touched Everett's elbow. "Let's go. You need some space." They parted ways in the parking lot, with Oliver and Roderick heading home while Everett and Sophia returned to the apartment Harvey had arranged for them. In the back of Everett's mind, a swirl of relief, regret, and cautious hope formed a complex knot of emotions. Sunbeams slanted through the living room windows, revealing dust motes dancing in the golden light. Everett sank into a plush armchair, shoulders drooping with fatigue. Sophia perched on the armrest, resting a comforting hand on his back. "How are you feeling, really?" she asked softly. He stared at the newly signed divorce decree on the coffee table, an official stamp of finality. "Mixed," he admitted. A sense of release, but also sadness at everything that collapsed. Cassandra and I shared years together, and it's hard to reconcile that with what she became. Sophia nodded, empathy shining in her eyes. "Let yourself grieve. But remember, this also opens the door to a better path for you." Everett inhaled deeply, crossing the room to look out the window at the city skyline. "I have to talk to Oliver about moving forward, and I should probably meet with Dad about my next steps at Bradford Industries. But first, I want to check on Cassandra." Sophia arched a concerned brow. "Are you sure that's wise?" "I don't plan to give her money beyond what the prenup stipulates," he clarified, shaking his head. "But I can't just ignore her. She's Oliver's mother." Sophia's expression softened. "You're a good man, Everett." The words wrapped around him like a gentle reassurance. He reached for her hand, pulling her into a light embrace. "I'm lucky you're here," he murmured. "I don't think I'd handle this alone." A warm flush lit Sophia's cheeks, and she brushed a soft kiss against his temple, a gesture of closeness rather than passion. For the first time since leaving the courthouse, Everett felt the tension in his chest ease. Maybe this was the beginning of a new chapter after all. A week passed in a blur of adjustment. Oliver continued to visit Cassandra occasionally, reporting that she was staying in a modest apartment near downtown, a far cry from the mansion she once occupied. Marilyn Vaughn had moved on to another social circle, leaving Cassandra feeling isolated. Oliver dropped by Everett's apartment one rainy afternoon, setting his umbrella to dry by the door. "Dad, Mom's not doing well," he said, face contorted with worry. "She's living off some leftover cash and leaning on an old acquaintance." He frowned. "I think it might be Amari, but she won't say." Everett's jaw tightened. A surge of protective anger rose, then ebbed into resigned sadness. I see. Oliver cleared his throat, glancing around. Where's Sophia? She's picking up some groceries, Everett replied, motioning for Oliver to sit. I invited her to move in with me once we figure out a more permanent arrangement, but one step at a time. Oliver nodded, tapping his foot nervously. Look, Dad, I'm glad you found someone stable, especially after everything you went through. Just don't rush into anything that might blow up again. A rueful half-smile tugged at Everett's lips. I learned my lesson about rushing, Oliver. Believe me, I'm taking this slow. Moments later, the door opened and Sophia stepped in, bags of produce in her arms. She greeted Oliver warmly, setting the groceries down on the kitchen counter. Oliver offered to help unpack, trying to hide his curiosity about this new presence in his father's life. While they worked, Everett cleared his throat. Son, about the family, I want us to be a real support system for each other. Your grandfather's set in his ways, but he cares, and I'm not going anywhere. Oliver paused, a flash of relief on his face. I'd like that. Honestly, I was worried you'd vanish again. Sophia slid into the conversation gently. Your father has good reason to stay. He's stronger than he thinks, and so are you. A sense of camaraderie settled over them as they finished putting groceries away. The steady patter of rain outside lent a cozy intimacy to the apartment. For once, Everett felt like the broken fragments of his life were slowly realigning. Roderick joined them for a simple dinner, carrying a bottle of fine wine from the family cellar. They set the table with mismatched plates and napkins. The conversation stayed mostly on safe topics: Oliver's MBA progress, Roderick's golf outings, but an undercurrent of warmth indicated a healing bond. During dessert, a luscious chocolate tart Sophia had picked up, Roderick cleared his throat. Everett, about the company, I think you should take some time off. You've worked non-stop for decades, and we can appoint an acting CEO. Maybe Oliver can step up in a junior capacity. Let yourself breathe. Everett exchanged a glance with Oliver, who shrugged modestly. If that's what you want, Dad, I'm game. I'm still learning. But maybe it's time I test my wings. A flicker of pride gleamed in Everett's eyes. It is. I trust you, and I think I could use a break. He turned to Sophia, a hint of mischief in his expression. Think you can handle me being around more? She laughed softly. I look forward to it. Roderick raised his wine glass. Then let's toast to new beginnings. This family's had enough turmoil. Time for a fresh chapter. They clinked glasses. Sophia caught Everett's eye across the table, something unspoken passing between them, a promise of deeper commitment and a shared future. After weeks of reorganizing company affairs, Everett and Sophia decided to fly back to Costa Rica, seeking a place of solace where they could nurture the peace that had begun to blossom between them. Oliver stayed behind, taking on more responsibilities at Bradford Industries under Roderick's guidance. Las Catalinas greeted them with a balmy sea breeze and the shimmering turquoise waters Everett had come to love. Selena met them at the airport, beaming at the sight of their contentment. Welcome home, if I can call it that, she said, helping load their luggage. Once they arrived at Everett's seaside villa, the late afternoon sun cast a golden hue over the patio. Sophia looked out at the rolling waves, a gentle sigh escaping her lips. I've missed this place, she murmured. Everett, heart pounding, took her hand and led her along the sandy path to a secluded spot overlooking the ocean. Seabirds wheeled overhead, and the air smelled of salt and possibility. He paused near a small outcropping of rocks, turning to face Sophia. Sophia, he began, voice trembling slightly. You came into my life at a time I was broken, and you showed me I could heal. I don't want to lose you. Ever. She blinked, eyes brimming with emotion. Everett, you've become so important to me, too. He produced a small velvet box from his pocket. Inside sparkled a simple yet elegant ring. I know we haven't known each other that long, not compared to a lifetime, but will you marry me? No pressure to rush a ceremony, but I want to show how serious I am about building a future with you. Sophia's breath hitched, her lips curved into a radiant smile. Yes, she whispered, tears shining in her eyes. I'd be honored. They embraced, the waves crashing below as if applauding. A warm breeze ruffled their clothes, carrying away the echoes of past pain. In that moment, the vow felt perfect, two souls stepping forward into hope. Several months later, in the glow of a soft morning sun, a small wedding took place on the pristine sands of Las Catalinas. The ceremony was intimate, attended only by close family and a handful of dear friends. Oliver stood at Everett's side, brimming with pride, while Roderick offered a gruff blessing for the union. On Sophia's side, a cousin from Italy and a close friend from Costa Rica witnessed her happiness. The gentle rush of waves served as the wedding march. Sophia wore a simple white gown, her black hair adorned with tiny flowers. Everett, in a light linen suit, couldn't contain the broad smile stretched across his face. Selina snapped photos, tears of joy shimmering in her eyes. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, cheers and laughter mingled with the salty air. They toasted with chilled champagne, the cork popping skyward in celebration. Oliver enveloped his father in a tight hug, whispering, "I'm proud of you, Dad." Roderick gave Everett a rare grin, handing him a worn leather notebook. "Your mother used to write down her dreams for our family in here. Maybe it's time you do the same for yours." Shortly after the reception, Everett announced he'd finalized the transition at Bradford Industries. Oliver would gradually take on more leadership, fulfilling the family legacy with fresh vision. In the meantime, Everett and Sophia planned a trip across Europe, a honeymoon of sorts, basking in the simple joy of each other's company, free of old shadows. A pastel sky stretched overhead, pinks and oranges bleeding into the horizon. Everett and Sophia stood near the surf, barefoot in the cooling sand. Their faces glowed with serenity cultivated through time, travel, and mutual understanding. Everett glanced at Sophia, memories flitting through his mind. Cassandra's betrayal, the heartbreak that sent him running to Costa Rica, the eventual legal battle, and the triumphant love he found with this remarkable woman. So much had changed, yet he felt more grounded than ever. Sophia leaned her head on his shoulder. "Do you ever think about the past?" she asked softly. He nodded. "Sometimes. But it doesn't hurt anymore. I've made my peace with Cassandra's choices. My son is thriving. My father's content. And He smiled down at Sophia. "I have everything I need." A gentle wave lapped at their ankles, the ocean whispering a lullaby of renewal. Sophia laced her fingers through Everett's. "You're still that strong, caring man I met in that little cafe. Only now, you've learned to let yourself be happy." He pressed a tender kiss to her forehead, voice husky with emotion. "Life is still beautiful, and you're proof of that, my love." They watched the sun sink lower, painting the water in gold and crimson. In that luminous moment, the final shadows of Everett's old life slipped away, replaced by the unbreakable bond they had forged. As the last sliver of sunlight disappeared, Everett closed his eyes, breathing in the salt air. He remembered the vow he'd made to himself long ago to overcome pain, to embrace hope. Standing here, hand in hand with Sophia, he knew he had succeeded.